Hi guys, welcome to my niece TV Zealots. Tonight, I'm here with Manifest Season 1, Episode 3, Turbulence. Recap, my partner in crime is MIA today, but I'm going to press forward. So, I just want to start off saying tonight's episode was great. It was a lot. First of all, a lot happened. We'll just kick it right off. It starts with we're back with Kelly's death. She was a passenger on flight 828, and she was talking to the press and accusing the government of all kinds of, things. And then she ended up being shot last episode. And the police come in and they're investigating. So Makayla comes to visit her brother because she got in the car, and it kind of like brought her back to the flashback of the car crash with her friend Evie. And so she comes in and she's like, can you drive me to Long Island so that we can, go see Kelly's crime scene? And so he agrees, and they go, and they, she weasels her way in with one of the cops, and she's in there. She's trying to see what's going on. He gives her some of the rundown. There's a necklace missing. She had burn marks on her neck. And then all of a sudden, the NSA director Vance comes in. He's like, we are taking over this. Anything that has to do with Flight 828 is our jurisdiction now. So basically they have to take over there, and they kick him out because he's like, are you aware that you have two of the passengers from Flight 828 on the plane, in here in the crime scene? And the guy was looking like so sick because he was like, what? So anyway, so they get kicked out or whatever, and then later on in the episode they come back to visit the husband, and they're like, okay, so what happened? Was it anything suspicious going on? And he's like, well, there was black vans. And then he tells the maid Christine to come in, and she's telling them like, yeah, she went to the hair salon, everything was weird. All of a sudden she came back with marks on her hands, on her wrists, and she said she fell. So they're like, okay, we got to check this out. Now, mind you, Savvy has called, and she's like, I tested Cal's blood. Now, last week I made a mistake and said he had a heart condition, but it was cancer. Okay. We just gonna move forward. So anyway, she's like, I tested his blood. He has a protein marker in his, his blood that wasn't there before the plane, incident. And so she's also tested her blood, and she has the same marker. So she's kind of like trying to put things together. And later on in the episode, she finds out that it's I can't even say it, Lord, a stroke. But it's like basically a marker that shows that you were very near death. And yeah. So she's like, okay, she's trying to put all the pieces together to figure this thing out and why they have this marker now that they didn't have before. So also, while Makayla was at the Stone's house, her brother, Ben and Grace, and so she was standing by the refrigerator, and all of a sudden she put the words together that says "Own your truth." And so we didn't know what that meant at first. Then all of a sudden, while she was talking to the Christine and the husband, she kept saying "Own your own truth," and she had a calling. And then Makayla's like, oh my God, I had that same calling. And so they're trying to figure out what's going on. So they're going to retrace the steps. Meanwhile, there's some family stuff going on. Ben is like kind of telling Grace that they need to be careful with all this craziness that's going on. And so he's like, okay, I'm also going to get a job and try to help out around here. You don't have to do it all alone. And she's like, yeah, okay, that's good. And then so Grace goes to work, and she takes Cal with her, and she's talking to her coworker, and he's like, so what's going on, with you and Danny? And, I'm all ears. I'm like, what's going on with her Danny? But she's like, okay, I already broke it off with him or whatever. And then he's like, you know what? I kind of feel like you're cheating on him. And I'm like, really? You gonna just like all of this is going on and you gonna just stab her and kick her while she down? But okay. And she's like, I kind of feel that way too. And so then, but she's like, you know what? I'm choosing my husband though, basically. And so meanwhile, Jared comes in, he talks to Makayla. He's like, look, you need to calm it down. Like, you took your brother to a crime scene that you wasn't supposed to be at. It wasn't in our jurisdiction. Like, you need to get it together. You doing the most. And so they actually have several conversations throughout the episode. Another, he's trying to console her because, well, basically when a lot of things are triggering her to that accident. So she goes to visit Beverly, which is Evie's mom, and she finds out that she has short-term memory loss. So she doesn't even remember that Evie is dead. And it's like, it's really bad. Like, and he's like, and the dad, her husband or whatever, was telling her, telling Makayla that he's like, I stopped telling her. I didn't want to keep, reliving this, revisiting this every 15 minutes, and which, oh my God, that can be so painful. So anyway, Makayla, she's feeling bad. She's sitting in there and he's like, why would you do that to yourself? Like, you should have never gone over there. Like, anyway. So again, Makayla gets out and she oh, well, okay, so Kevin, which was Cal's best friend, shows up at the house and he's like, he sees Cal come home and he's like, hey, it's really awkward because he's like all grown up, and Cal is still a little boy. And he's like, we probably should go out for pizza sometime. And then all of a sudden, he's like, oh, but I really didn't come to see Cal. I came to see Olive. So what? They're dating. And Cal didn't seem too happy about it. And we find out later in the episode, he was not. So Olive, she sneaks out of the house to go see her boyfriend or whatever. And basically Cal just rats her out after he finds out that, their item. And so she's like, what? Like, why would you do this? Anyway, so later on, Ben and Makayla go to the mall where, she went to get her hair done. They find out that the wife, that Kelly and her husband owns the mall. So they go, as soon as they come in, this lady just takes off running. So they're racing after her or whatever. And then they finally catch her and she's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? She thinks it's immigration. So we find out that Kelly and her husband was out here being slumlords and all kind of mess. And they was taking 40% like from these people, and like their workers and stuff who rent a space in the mall. They was taking 40% from them. And if they didn't pay the 40%, they were calling immigration on them. And so she's like, I thought she was here to collect, but she wasn't. She told me she was going to change and everything. So now they're looking at the husband. They think, okay, the husband did this. Meanwhile, Ben goes back home and it's this man in his house. And he gets the baseball bat. He like about to take him out. And then he's like, no, I'm Lindsay. I'm actually, I was just here to get I believe cleats. I can't remember, but he was there to get some equipment, sports equipment for the child. And so he was like, oh, okay. And so the wife is like apologizing profusely. She's like, I'll do snacks for the team. I'll do everything when it's your week, because she feels really bad that her husband attacked him when he was just there to pick up the equipment. And so after he leaves, Ben turns around and is like, how many men have keys? And I was like, dang, did he just call her a whore? And she was like, it's expected, bro. He was gone. She was like, you were gone. You were gone. Like, this is my life. And I dealt with it the best I could. But she's like, look, I've always loved you. I never stopped loving you. And it's me and you. Let's focus on that. We're not going to focus on the past. And so they move forward with that. Meanwhile, Makayla, she gets this, she goes back to the house to see Beverly. And when she's there, oh, did I mention that on the clock when they were chasing the lady in the mall, it said 8:28 on it. I was like, this is creepy. Like, why is it 8:28 when they chasing her down? Anyway, woo, it's a mess. It's a mess. So, what was I saying? Oh, we were back at Ben and Makayla. No, I'm sorry. Makayla went to visit Beverly, and so she was like, she gets to the house and the husband is there, and he's like, she left, she ran away, and so Makayla, he's like, take my car, and so when she goes to sit in his car, she kind of like freaks out because she's having this flashback of what actually happened that night with Evie. Evie was drunk and she didn't want her to drive drunk. So she's like, I'm going to call us an Uber. And she's like, no, I need my car in the morning. She was like, either you drive. And then she snatched her keys back. She's like, you know what? Since you're not going to drive, I'll drive. And then, of course, Makayla, less drunk than her, was like, okay, no, I'm going to take the keys. And then, of course, they get into an accident. And so, she's feeling really guilty about that. But then she gets herself together and she goes looking for Beverly, and she's walking in the middle of the street. So she swerves in front of this car that's about to hit her. And all of a sudden she sees it's Christine, the maid. And guess what she has sitting right next to her? The necklace. The necklace. I was like, ah! Oh my God. So she has the necklace in the car. And so she's like, what happened? She's like, she doesn't get to come back. Like, they have her in the interrogation room trying to figure out what's going on. They like, did you have a relationship with Patrick? Did you have anything going on with him? And she's like, no, we didn't need that. But when she came back, it was all over between us. Like, she started treating me like the maid. And they like, but you are the maid. Like, what? Anyway, she couldn't handle it. And so she killed her and took the necklace. Now, mind you, there was a suspect that they had in custody, and he was like, he was telling Makayla, he was like, look, I'm not worried, I'm not afraid to die, or whatever is going to happen to me is going to happen to me. He was like, basically, he was like, what have you concealed? And this was before she goes back to apologize to Beverly and her husband about what happened with Evie and tell her the full extent. But like I said, it ends up that it was Christine and they caught her red-handed, and she was all jealous over I don't know what. But anyway, at the end of the day, Makayla comes back and she's talking to Jared. He's like, come on now, you got to tell me. It's too much of a coincidence that you keep meeting with, keep you 2 for 2. Like, and it's out of the blue. It's so random, that you get these cases and blow them wide open. And so she's like, something's happening to me and I can't control it and I can't explain it. Just don't get involved. You don't want to be involved. And so I don't know if he really accepts it, but what can he do? And so then, Makayla goes to see Ben and she's like, we need to get to Savvy. And like I said, Savvy explains it about them being near death, which actually kind of brings her back to that conversation that she had with the guy in jail who was telling her, he was like, we were near death. He's like, when you come back and you're pure, you'll see it. He's like, you just haven't connected. You haven't uncovered everything you concealed. So it's a lot of more going on and going to be mixed in. Next week previews seem really interesting. It seems like it's going to be some more Ben and Grace drama because it doesn't look like she's completely shut Danny out. We're gonna see what's going on with that. But anyway, that's it, guys. That's my recap of Manifest episode 3, Turbulence. Let me know in the comments, and if you like the episode, if you want us to keep recapping this, and if you're if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Thank you to all of our subscribers who, come back week after week with us, and have a great night. Until next time. Bye.